to get, I will say, okay, so we've got Shiv and Dynamo coming on through. I need to get this chat pulled up for us so I can see. So it looks like the extra ban is going to be Lash. Now, with Lash being banned away and Killing Spree playing the Grey Talon previously, it's a very strong pick since the changes. I don't want to say it's a very strong pick. It's stronger than it was.
It's better.
It's a lot stronger than it was. Yeah, way better than what we would have seen previously. With Lash gone, depending on this first pick, you don't want to play the Grey Talon into the Paradox. That doesn't feel great.
Nope.
You jump into the sky, and then you're immediately grounded. So we'll see if this first pick from Deadlock Demons maybe shapes the draft here or shapes that Grey Talon pick if Paradox is eventually picked up.
Yeah, and something to note there, when it was picked up on the opposite side, I'm pretty sure we didn't see a single Paradox within the lobby. So that's a big reason why potentially the Grey Talon was so comfortable in the hands of Killing Spree. Now, to no surprise, especially with the first pickup in the contention that we talked about, there's Kelvin, right? And this is no different than what we saw out of Deadlock Demons coming off of their win in round 1 here. They were playing it prior to, and they will continue on that train forward for Killing Spree. And once again, continues to replicate, albeit the Kelvin is gone. The Wraith is high priority. You take off a lot of those major damage preferentials we talk about most of the time in North America between Shiv and Lash, and you still got the major picks. Wraith is still the target to look at.
Yeah, and I am a little, maybe I'm a little less worried, but with Killing Spree not getting the Kelvin, I'm wondering what they bring in as, yes, this is our support. Because I think Ivy can be that, and they do play the Ivy, but Ivy hasn't been that. You know, you're looking at the Spirit Ivy build, flying around, being a bruiser. Yes, you can build the supporty items there, but you want a lot out of that. The remnants of what's left of the AC 130 Ivy. So I'm wondering if we do get a Viscous quite possibly picked up for Killing Spree or something else. Maybe I'm going to put it out there. I'm manifesting it because I think I'm starting to miss him a little bit. I'm missing the McGinnis, man. We don't get a whole lot of McGinnis in the EU lobby, so I would love to see somebody pick up the McGinnis, get some playtime there because of what the heal does, just in general as far as sports go.
You know, there is a world, but I will say when we talk about last game for Killing Spree being based around things like that Moan Krill, like that Ivy, who are still very much options on the board here, the lockdown potential's huge, right? It's not the perfect situation, but we talk about making things like for the combo, telekinesis, and literally combo being that ultimate there for Moan Krill for the folks who maybe aren't as aware. It's definitely, there you go, a pickup that you're gonna walk forward with and understand that you have a lot of kill potential, a lot of really good sustained pressure. Tack the 7 alongside it, and you're making for a dastardly game plan when Killing Spree gets into a situation where they have those cooldowns available and they are scaled it up to absolutely shred through this lobby. Something that I know you're probably just about to discuss is the Paradox. It's come through, and that means that it takes some picks off the board for Killing Spree.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, so what we're not seeing here is the draft typically goes 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And so, and I don't know if that added up to 12, but you guys get the point. You just go 1 all the way once we get past the 2s. So what was picked up here, Kelvin first rounded, we expected that high priority. Wraith and 7 actually picked up on the other side. And then Paradox Abrams, which the Abrams, his beautiful face does eventually come through, responded to in kind by that Moan Krill. And then now we're getting, okay, we're speeding through it. Up-to-date Infernus, up-to-date Ivy. I think that 7 pick, however, is going to fill the shoes of what your Grey Talon would have been. It is picked before the Paradox, but I do think that whoever was playing Grey Talon previously for Killing Spree is now probably going to be sporting that 7, and they take it away from Deadlock Demons, knowing that they played it in the previous game as well.
And the Infernus, it makes the swap as well here. And that's gonna literally be a vice versa for both of these teams in their setup. And I honestly think it works really, really well for both of them. I mean, I think they both come out on top of that draft decision because you can't let the Infernus slide through. If you give that one away to Killing Spree, you're almost but cementing yourself to be in a tough mid to late game there. So picking it away is almost necessary and guaranteed, but it's still not a straightforward pickup even in the slice. In fact, it's a great one to work with for Deadlock teams, especially in setting up a lot of the follow-through for that engage tools that they have already locked in between things like the Kelvin, Arctic Bee, the Paradox swap, and the Abrams as well. That's crazy, though. That's crazy
though.
That's crazy, though.
That's crazy,
That's
though.
crazy, though. I hope, we both hope it don't happen. I know the audience at home, they hope they're gonna wait to see it, but we both hope.
Surely, I mean, that is just such a scary pick when Paradox exists.
We just saw it.
When,
we just saw it last game.
And when you look at the rest of the team, sometimes teams fall into a game plan where a lot of weight gets put on the Paradox's shoulders, right? You pick up the Shiv, you pick up the Yamato, you have the Paradox there, and you're like, yeah, Shiv can engage, but we want Shiv to assassinate. We want Shiv to be dancing around, so maybe we're going to wait for our Paradox to find a pick. You don't have to do that if you're Deadlock Demons. You have so many engage tools, and the Paradox can literally just sit back and look for a swap whenever the Gray Talon is taking to the sky. So I am a little flabbergasted that 7 is not filling the shoes of the Gray Talon, and that Killing Spree are still playing it, man. That's got to be just a crazy pocket pick for someone.
I'm excited to see it. I will say that entirely, because if you are confident enough to go into the threshold where you are already at a slight disadvantage, you got to be pulling out some insane
Amber Hand, Killing Spree, your Sapphire Flame, and it is going to be a 7 solo lane. Okay, okay, hold on, timeout, guys. I promise I'm not just looking at the answers and saying this is what I was gonna say, but Mo and Krill and Grey Talon both work really well together because you just set each other up through the combo, you set each other up through the immobilizing trap, and then you can also keep Grey Talon safe because he's an old man who gets shot by everything by just using the Sand Blast and disarming the lane that you're working against. Now, to that point, I was so incredibly wrong. They are laning the Paradox and the Kelvin together, so it looks like early pressure in this lane, I think just because Grey Talon exists in this lane, but it's actually Mo and Krill who's getting run away from this one as Spirit Abuser, that's all of us combined, is tossing out those frost grenades doing extra damage.
Yeah, you got to pay your respects, especially with Paradox at any point there as things scale up. A couple of heavy punches always go a ways sideward there, but just as we pull away there from our mid-game tussle, it is already a successful wipe and maybe a successful deep dive. I like the split over on the other end from Jimical. Tries to set this up to at least lead to a response there, but it is just going to be for the 1-for-1. Doesn't change the fact, though, that lots of heavy wave pressure here in the favor of Deadlock Demons, and Kelvin will be back within this. Granted, if we do look at the numbers game, they're really not that far off after the trade.
No, it does hurt a little bit that your Mo and Krill is a few souls behind. Again, not the end of the world there, but that combo makes him so strong. So getting that ult early is important as SC doing his darndest. He's shooting the outline around the Ivy there, just trying to keep them at bay to make sure they don't pick up the kill on the Mirage. And as we jump right back to Greenwich, I mean, it's the same story, right? Spirit Abuser just stepping up aggressively right next to Jimical and pushing underneath this Walker, or Guardian, excuse me.
Needs the time there. Now optimally pressuring towards the shop. We've seen nothing but damage come through here, and this is something that you could potentially sustain with an appropriate rotation here. But you got to make for surviving. You got to give yourself a chance past the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game there. So they will try to stem the bleeding as much as they can there, especially with the lack of dominance in that lane. Something that I am surprised to see, though, is how happy Fine is here deep in this lane on this 7. Not something I would typically expect against the pocket early. I know, especially with that lightning ball, you do have some scaling pressure there, but a couple of barrage shots and your pocket should be ready to go.
Yeah, now to that point, if we know that, everybody knows that, right? So I'm going to hold that thought here as, unfortunately, Far Gecko there getting run down there. Could not escape SC and Far Gecko recently played in a 1v1 tournament. Unfortunately, didn't win the whole thing, but I was in there getting their reps in. This Lady Geist, however, is in a 2v2 lane, so a little bit of a different world. But to go back to that pocket point, if we know that, the players know that. So ultimately, your goal is do not get hit by Barrage if possible, because you don't want any damage amp. And 7 does a lot of spirit damage early, so the pocket into the 7 can't feel good in this early game. So I would expect that we do see Fine doing all right in that lane. The one thing that pocket brings, if not dueling power, is pushing power. If the barrage isn't hitting heroes, but it's hitting trooper, that's fine, because that's going to keep the lane at bay.
We'll see how it might end up here. A lane at bay, though, is the likes of Broadway. Pressured back. We talked about that AoE potential from the Essence Bomb of the Lady Geist. I honestly don't think the damage that you take in return is anywhere close, but Abrams will make good on a quick slam.
Yes, seismic impact taken to the skies. He heroically lands down, and yeah, there's no teleporter. There's no way out. Fargo Echo getting taken down again here on the Lady Geist. Lady Geist is oppressive. Lady Geist can be punishing, but if you step up, you're gonna get punished in return, and that is the statement that SC is stating early in this one.
You got to pay respects to Abrams being as much of a tool as we'd expect there, but now, once again, I love to highlight this. It has been an absolute show here from Fine in this side lane, able to absolutely dominate the park setup, and that's going to force a response now. SC on this Abrams does make for the quick rotate, and while yes, gets a pickup there, I want to point out that, I mean, it is becoming a problem far earlier than you would expect for a 7 in most game setups here. Now sitting at 4.4 thousand souls. If this is any inkling to the game we have at hand, I am especially worried.
I really wish our players would just pick the lane in lobby and go to it. So that way, you know, 7 wasn't green at the top of the scoreboard, and it was all nice and dandy and pretty for us to look at, but making it awkward as I scan across. And yeah, 4.7k, doing pretty good in this one. We saw how strong 7 can be being set back in the early game, so I think we have high hopes for Eplifin. Fine, EPL.
By the way, yes,
on that 7.
Shout out to anybody who is a Killing Spree fan. Please help us out. Let us know. Come at us aggressively, if that. Be mad. Be as mad as I would be if I was stuck in this frozen shelter. Granted, massive separations there now. Tries to dip, dive, dash away. The swap through the walls. A bit of damage to deal with, but ultimately ends in Berserker picked apart. And now the full-on dive. We talked about this great Talon having to deal with solo preferential. Sadly, it is going to come at the cost of big damage, but with that massive concussive combustion over on the other end, it is an easy secure here.
Yeah, but the fight's not done just yet. Deep into the back line, concussive combustion used to secure that kill onto Anatoly, but they want to take the fight right back to him, and Killing Spree are getting involved. Huge pickup there by Apath as he takes down Spirit Abuser, and eventually also grabbing the rest here in Greenwich. So the Battle of Greenwich continues to go back and forth as the side lanes do their thing. We see Killing Spree with the earliest Guardian here in this one. It's actually Yellow Lane losing their Guardian, a second one now to fall.
I will say, though, it is a very balanced game in terms of the pressure of this macro, right? It is the first Guardian at 7 minutes, 36 seconds. It was just coming off of round 1 where we were already seeing major walkers deleted by 10 here. So teams, I wouldn't even say playing respectfully, but playing aware to the issues at hand here. This time around, Fargo Recco, you got to be careful. Yes, I like this. Set yourself up, healing right in play. Play for the sustained advantage. Well, even if the kinetic carbine's going to shut it out early. Oh, or just die.
Yeah, yeah. Fargo Recco meeting the same fate that he's met this entire game, and a well-timed time wall to slow things down and make sure that nobody on the side of Killing Spree want to push forward. It subsides, and that paradoxical swap will eventually mean the death of Eplifin. I think I'm on Eplifin, and I could be wrong, but I'm sticking with Eplifin on the 7 there.
Eplafin, EpiPen, whether it is or isn't, we'll see. It's up there. I will say, as fantastic as this early game pressure has been from Eplafin, it has now been double punished twice, notably initially in what was the first take here against Brayden on this Mirage, now into the major fight as well. Deadlock Demons are doing a great job at least stopping that early flow and now bringing that 7 back to a place of maybe some more balance here. And granted, that won't stop the farming, that won't stop the absolute massive potential, but it is something that they definitely delay for moments longer here as they themselves now pull back, get themselves up on these denizens and keep the farm.
Yeah, and taking a look at the builds thus far, nothing really out of the ordinary, right? We're seeing Ivy with the extra charge, right? Building that Cuddy Bomb build, eventually going to get there. Abrams doing nothing too crazy. Brayden just building the Shredder build here on the Mirage. So nothing standing out. You know, we talked about Rescue Beam in the first game, and I think we did go without a Rescue Beam. I've noticed that some of the European players do put emphasis in buying defensive items, I think a little earlier than North American teams, but maybe they put a little less on some of these healing items or some of these kind of get you out of dodge items like that Rescue Beam and Healing Nova.
I will say there was one. There was one on
Was
Kelvin.
there?
Yes.
Okay.
There was one.
Kelvin,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
On the response, I don't think we saw it in terms of the bigger support discussion we had last time around. Speaking of discussions last time around, the Urn, not one that really showed up very often. I'm curious to see if it's going to be much of the same here. Eplafin has already put up great pressure over towards the edge, and that opens up the potential now, especially looking at the majority of what Sapphire Flame has in play here. I mean, to be able to freely walk this one out and hopefully results in potentially a cross-map setup. But I can understand, especially with some dominance towards procuring the souls and making sure you get that major lead, and also make sure you now sustain at least one pickup of a wipe there, and could potentially come back to it later.
And this is a scary prospect. You go 1 for 1 in the lane there. You trade out your Wraith for your Paradox. Was there something happening?
I thought something. It's all good.
It's not something was happening. Nothing was happening. Mo and Krill, Berserk, unfortunately going down there. No burrow means no extra resistances, and getting chased down is the Ivy as well. So SC showing off how deep the Abrams can go there. They'll also secure their 3rd Guardian in response. So flex slots aplenty now as both teams have opened up their first flex slot. And I mean, that first flex slot, the more that I had thought about it, at first I was like, well, if you're not full items, like, you really need a flex slot. And then you start to think about players like the Grey Talon right here are full spirit items and can now afford to buy one more, which does just bolster the new Grey Talon kit as a whole. So it feels good to get those early flex spots.
It's always just something to work with, right? I mean, end of the day, it's going to not be the make or break for the itemization, because priority pickups regarding that are immediately going to be in the favor just when you're in the shop, right? But given the opportunity to scale appropriately alongside your flex slots is always something that anybody wants, right? Either way, I don't think we will potentially see some contentious discussion over, especially with the constant, ever-shifting landscape it is regarding securing those flex slots. The Urn, this time around, to be secured by the likes of the Deadlock Demons. We made some major discussion about it moments ago, and something to note is while there is some heavy priority towards it, at least for now, by the Demons, Killing Spree is starting to look for response. Everyone's there. Everyone.
Yeah, and that calls for, hey, let's put this Urn down and look to fight. So we'll see how far that Urn travels back in time as this fight kicks off. And, I mean, an early kill onto your Infernus. That's a huge engage tool taken down. Now, Frozen Shelter to be used, but it's only for Spirit Abuser to get away to safety. As that Urn keeps moving across the map, they push forward Uptown Park Avenue. As we duel it out here, Lightning Bolt goes across the screen, a swap as you mentioned, but the bodies are starting to drop, and Deadlock Demons are ripping through, fighting a killing spree of their own, as the Ivy is next to fall. The only one to survive is Grey Talon, and he is not out of the fray just yet. It seems he's still in the mix, trying to dance between 4 members who are on the wrong side of the map. Nightmare does eventually get punished for it. Anatoly taken to the skies there. Looks like Braden gonna try and find a way to run him down. Inside the building, maybe? No, it looks like he has since snuck out. So he'll survive, but that fight leaning a little bit more in favor of our Deadlock Demons, and the urn secured as well.
Right. You see player there make that rotate towards the mid with its rotation, and now a happy reset back to the farm potential and a complete split here from Killing Spree, knowing that they've got to give that one up and once again keep up with the pace here. Go back to they themselves on the soul recovery, and even though they're only down but a simple 10k, it's something that can absolutely spiral, especially now that we start to see the discussion regarding those walkers being breached here. Granted, with really, really good team play and a set of, we'll say, team-oriented decisions like we saw from the Deadlock Demons, I'm curious if it affects Killing Spree's macro. They have a lot of opportunity to potentially make for the split given the damage profile that they have to work with, and that sometimes can lead for good responses. What can't lead to good responses, though, is being completely separated like that. It is but the luck of a simple project mind that makes sure we are out into safety, but you know what I mean, you gotta pay your respects here.
And things have settled just a bit. Unfortunately, the Spirit lead no longer in favor of Killing Spree, but just shy of a 10k lead for Deadlock Demons. Some of that coming from that favorable fight. I think 2 kills the lead, but also that urn being secured. And
there's that separation.
Yeah, and Apath is on the right side of the map. You know, isn't stretching too far out of reach, but 4 players being on this side from Deadlock Demons mean nowhere is safe.
Nowhere is safe, and what leads to another major wipe there, finally securing that Guardian down and out for the remnants of the game there. Notably, it is player, though, in response in a very similar discussion this time around on the wrong side of the map, as some would say, caught in the burbs over towards the edge of the Av, and now will lead to the urn being picked up here for Killing Spree. Gotta pay your respects, though. Once again, immediately back into play. A quick swap through the time wall, and this is what we talk about when we have solo excessive damage from things like that Paradox. You may shred, you may beam, but it is something that comes with late game Wraith. Now, with heavy investment, here comes the rest of the Deadlock Demons.
Yeah, and I mean, Spirit Abuser is going to get his shoulder work in 4 charges of the Frost Grenade with the improved burst on top of it. He does escape for now, however, as 4 players of Killing Spree looked to lean that way. Apath still looking at a gray screen. We get one as well for Jimmicle. And, I mean, surprisingly, that 10k gold lead, Zephyr, I blinked and it vanished. Where did that go?
I mean, just it being forced to make for the split, and the fact that we saw the reset from Killing Spree so quickly over towards all of their side lanes. I want to point out the fact that look at what hasn't been cleared here from the side of notably Deadlock Demons. They still have the incomplete backline denizens to pick up, and on top of that, we're wasting a lot of time out towards the side. Notably, it was a heavy push, or a heavy, my apologies, push over towards York Avenue moments ago, and it's just things like that that has led to major separations, even in the face of what we saw was a Guardian picked up in the midst of all of that from the side of Killing Spree.
Wow. Yeah, as things slow down in a game that feels so hard to work your way back into Killing Spree, have found a way to not only do that, but take a small lead. And yeah, as you mentioned, you know, you look at the minimap once more, and it is cleared on both sides. So Deadlock Demons understanding right now it's time to go farm those camps. If not, a whole lot is happening on the map, because your next objective is pushing deep to get a walker or playing for mid-boss, right? So if you're not looking to do those 2 things immediately, then camps have to be the way to go, and we are relatively even in terms of the lanes. Now, for Killing Spree, they've got a glaring objective standing in front of them, right? It's downtown Broadway. That Guardian is still standing. It doesn't mean flex slot anymore, but it does mean some extra souls and some extra map pressure, at the very least, in terms of that space being even across the board.
There's a big topic we used to discuss in League of Legends, and it's called splitting a line on the map there, and it's the discussion of what pressure you have available based off of how much of the map you can cut at any given point to your side. And at least in Deadlock, there is a heightened speed, especially with the zip lines, that makes it less of an issue, given the fact that you have such a quick response time to getting into the action. But it doesn't change the fact that at any given point there, with those Guardians still up, with those major macro points still in play, you don't have the space to be as free, to not just make crosses and make just pressure plays, but also secure things like these extra denizens when you see a little bit of some sleepy action from the other side. So I'm happy in the end. It was necessary. We're getting to 20 minutes now. It's about time.
Yeah, that Guardian does eventually go down. So even Steven across the board, not as big of a soul jump as you may expect. Meanwhile, with the play on the right side of the map, we've got one matched left side as Deadlock Demons looking for their first walker, trying to find a take here. Affliction goes up and over the top, and Nightmare getting ripped through here as Anatoly takes to the skies. Nobody there to punish just yet. Finally, Braden will force this Grey Talon out of the fight. The trap is down, so nobody can go any further. And again, the Infernus is taken down without using the ult. So we go carry for carry as the Wraith follows. And now we're getting way too deep for Spirit Abuser. He cannot keep himself topped off. And low HP, Fargareko able to hit that soul exchange onto SC, who's sitting on just about 300 HP. And that is not enough here to keep the Abrams alive. Not all blue is bulletproof as Berserk picks up a kill on the Abrams.
Now, this is a big setup here. We talk about what can you do with it, and the eyes are all upon the Rejuvenator, but it isn't a completely free one at that cooldown. Still low. Recovery already in play here. You have player and notably Spirit Abuser back up soon, so not something that we'll likely be seeing anytime yet from Killing Spree, but it does leave me worrisome given the fact that I do see at least two set up there, potentially just for camp clear. Either way, now, if that's not the option, you've still got earn play. Get your waves pushed out. Pressure for at least some soul advantage, because the more we see that from Killing Spree, the more likely we'll see a good response from them in terms of getting the appropriate soul advantage on players like, of course, that Wraith and that 7, which is happening, right? They are the necessary leaders across the board here for the souls right now, and that will only get worse and worse.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it much in the draft. I'm going to hang on to it. Earn is available. This is, again, an objective, right? Once this is available, you want to look to play for this one.
That's me and you, baby.
We're finally getting some Ivy action, baby. Ivy using that airdrop to move that Earn across the map.
Oh,
but two players are waiting
here,
right? Yeah, this is not the safest turn-in.
Might have to drop this one a bit early, but instead, Mo is right into the thick of it there, able to at least get the full soul return, and it is just going to be straight up Deadlock Demons backing up and away. Meanwhile, that Frozen Shelter turning Eplefin once again into minced meat here, and now leading to what could potentially be our first walker of the game. I can't believe I'm saying that at 22 minutes.
I know this has been a neck-and-neck game, especially when it comes to these the structures. As player dips away from the fight for the Earn previously, but comes right back to punish Berserk for overstaying his welcome on the left side of the map. So York Ave has been shored up. Park Ave is also being punished on the opposite side for Deadlock Demons. They've given up the Earn, but they're controlling so much in terms of opening things up. And these builds are also about to open up. If they can secure this one, they're one walker away. Guided Owl comes through, though, trying to slow things down on the escape. The health bars have been chipped away at, but there's no follow-up for Killing Spree.
No follow-up, but I do want to point out York is a big success here. The complete split on the map is something that, I mean, Killing Spree, they only have so many members to respond with. They extend a single Wraith over towards the side lane to pressure it out, and in the end, it's just not enough. And truth be told, it's still a good chunk of damage on that walker. Now, Eplefin once again deep into the action, and so many times out, we have seen this punish with slowing Hex down now. I mean, you're thankful you have the support here from Berserker on this Moan Krill to feel safe walking away there, but it's once again another potential opportunity for punishment.
And that's 7 survivable with the spirit lifesteal picked up so much. It's like for very obvious, you don't want to stand in the lightning ball, but for very, very obvious reasons, we get telekinetically grabbed, and Jimmicle just has no way out of that one. Wraith finally making good on that ultimate, but players here to try and turn this one around. I mean, this is a duel that we've seen Wraith for Infernus, but a huge rescue beam that has a criminally short cooldown because we just saw it used moments ago.
You say criminally short cooldown there. I say criminally short cooldown when we talk about the like of Shadow Weave. That's the reason why this Wraith is able to get absolutely disgustingly in there. Some major other pickups, at least now. Trying to see if they can respond. Something I do want to point out is Moan Krill, though. Phantom Strike available. That is a big pickup on the itemization there. Being able to teleport to that enemy target at any given point there and apply the major slows and disarms that Mo particularly needs to be an even more effective lockdown target. This is something that will heighten a lot of the pressure we see from Killing Spree, as he has now the double take available at any given point.
And telekinesis back up as well. Looked like for a second our Wraith was creeping over to maybe meet player once more on Park Ave. Instead, 3 now for Deadlock Demons. Gonna push uptown Broadway. Met by Berserk on Mo and Krill. MXM also here to try and hold on to this Walker. But, I mean, you know where their eyes are set, right? They already did a bit of damage uptown Park, and they want to set their eyes to go right back to that one. So they'll secure the buff, pick that one up on spawn, earn just around the corner as it descends from the skies. In 15 seconds, it will reach the ground. And we'll see how much pressure is put on that right side of the map.
I mean, they've got this from the like of the Deadlock Demons. They'll finally get an earned response here in comparison to what we've seen out of Killing Spree, being so good, putting some priority through the mid game on that one. It is already sustained, at least with some defense. Emka there, as well as Berserker already playing it out. And of course, always Fargo Recco on potential rotate as well here. Granted, major separation though, with Anatole and Eplefin over towards the side, leads me to believe this is something that they're just going to have to, once again, pass away. And if they don't, bad team fight breaks out, you're down a couple members. It doesn't even matter if you lose a few on Deadlock Demons. They're going to be able to, once again, potentially split the map and go for side lane push. I do want to point out, though, Eplefin, like the separation there. Sadly, it's very hard to match into with the Mirage at any given point. There's a reason why this guy's got a sustained 32,000 souls on Deadlock Demons. It's because he is always on the back line pressuring this while now, waiting for Traveler opportunity.
Yeah, teleport taken from 7 to get across the map. This urn has been plopped down, and now 5 players strong are Deadlock Demons to wait for that teleport, and they finally get it into the mix. We go as SC looks to get things started. Sandblast has been used, so disarmed for a moment are the guns of Deadlock Demons. But, I mean, they're just flirting back and forth, right? They're just reaching out and touching one another. Rescue beam to get 7 to safety. Eplefin, though, taken dangerously low. A Frost Grenade almost takes him down there. So much burst out from this Kelvin, and they put the urn down, and it's moving across the map. And speaking of moving across the map, they have to answer to that Walker downtown Greenwich. They're going to have to walk away from this one or lose a huge structure.
And now, I mean, it's literally up to the remnants of Spirit Abuser here to defend what is that urn play. And you can see Berserker moving in just as quickly, knowing that they have that pressure as a solo target advantage to now pick up the urn and potentially set this one back up. Unable to secure it quickly enough, this could be, once again, another one for Killing Spree after some excellent pacing.
And this time they don't have to use the Ivy ult to do it, so they'll still have that ultimate available for this fight as Brayden gets ripped from the fight here. Guided Owl used to find that pick, now taken to the skies once more. Xanatoli, beautiful swap. As Jimmicle trying to sneak away here, get somebody deep behind enemy lines. Nightmare now looking to get into the action as the Storm Cloud rips through a few, but immediately taken down as Eplefin. Unfortunately, the Affliction just a bit too much for the 7 to stay alive. So 2 huge kills, one of them coming from that paradoxical swap from Jimmicle as he heads back to base.
This is a big problem with the damage sustained potential of Killing Spree right now, especially with Anatoly prioritizing being so separated from this fight to be away from things like that paradoxical swap. I mean, who goes in? Who goes in and supports alongside some of your heavy engage tools like the Moan, Krill, and the Ivy? Well, it's going to be the likes of Eplefin on this 7, and notably in that team fight, we don't have Wraith there. They're still side pressured due to the fact that we see some of those lane resets, and by the time the fight really kicks off and is able to get going there towards the mid potential, I mean, she's just making her way back from base.
Heartbreaking. We are cresting that 30,000 souls mark, finally hit there for the Wraith. But imagine we've got to be close, if not there, in terms of max level ultimate, which things really start to get scary once that telekinesis is able to grab multiple members. Also, Brayden just unfortunately died for their first time, but I don't feel like, and maybe it's because we haven't been sitting on the POV, so we'd have to see, obviously we'll see player damage at the end of the game, but the Mirage is way ahead, but it doesn't feel like it's had heaps of impact in the team fight.
No, it is a I hate this word is so silly, but it is a consequence of being forced to be that side lane response tool at all times, right? You're just going to accelerate your placement regarding souls because you are the best pick in the entire game for being a defensive option, and with being defensive comes the constant racketeering of all the souls on the map as well there, which, yes, is delaying a lot of the power potential I would love to see here on opposite picks like that Infernus in players' hands or potentially elsewhere. But I mean, it's really not as purposeful of a decision, and probably purposeful when it comes to itemization as well.
Yeah, a nice pickup though, as we talked about the side laning preference of your Mirage. We saw SC side laning by himself, gets caught by the guided owl. Beautiful soul exchange. I say beautiful, it's a point and click, and Fargareko actually getting punished and being forced to walk away from that fight, but goes down anyways. So Deadlock Demon's feeling pretty good about that one, and yeah, it looks like they want to try and take this fight inside the pit. Jimmicle goes down. Killing Spree gonna have to leave this here, but they'll fight inside the museum. Now Brayden finally gets a chance to just send shots down range. Is gonna get stunned up, sends a few more, and that Jin's mark will start to chip away at the health bars. Nightmare the next go down, however, as Eplefin starts to cut through, and 7 does what 7 does best. A healthy Mirage with a gun buff means he can keep fighting forward, but a 3v5 is what they're looking at here. Wraith gonna duck away back to base. Mid-boss in the museum have been cleared out, but the lead now, Zephyr, in what was such a close game in Souls, it's starting to get away from Deadlock Demons again.
This opportunity for Killing Spree now off of a good, healthy reset with half of the damage sustained should be a happy Rejuvenator, especially with, I mean, Deadlock Demons unable to respond. This should be the thing that finally opens up the map, because realistically, we have been so scared to get things rolling here that this Rejuvenator, alongside provided trooper advantage regarding their health and push power, will also notably be, I mean, a lot of confidence now for that Killing Spree roster, knowing that even if they do take a poor push, they will end up resulting in a quick reset. And at least if you're throwing away one flex slot, what does it matter?
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm glad you brought up flex spots or flex slots, because we're definitely at the point in the game where, yes, you're, 38,000 souls on the Mirage. You're not getting 38,000 souls worth of items right now. You are, you're probably sitting at anywhere between like 30,000 and hoping for that next flex slot. So that's huge to point out. And then also, that Rejuvenator in what is such a close game where you feel like you cannot afford to make a mistake. You have to be perfect. Killing Spree no longer have to do that for the next 3 minutes, right? They don't want to give up too much, but they can afford to die like that.
Well, I said this is good, but this is bad for Killing Spree. The big Rejuvenator down on a target, you absolutely now, if you are planning to make any further engages, can't be wiped out. I do want to point out the Park side, though. completely being absolutely abscessed here, opened apart, and now in the favor of 3 whole walkers on the side of Killing Spree. Only 1 left standing in the likes of Greenwich here for them now, and could easily be picked up with a hearty rotation, something that would net them not just the 1 flex slot that I'm sure they're thankful for, but also the additional to go alongside it as we see them quickly come through. Yeah, look, they're immediately buying. Oh, wow, look at that. Diviner's Kevlar picked up from Krill instantaneously. I mean, that's how bad it's been, guys.
Yeah, that's huge. Crippling headshot available now for Jimmy.
Oh, there it is!
Oh, God! I mean, unfortunate for Jimmicle just getting run down. And yeah, that Diviner's Kevlar being popped is a quick combo onto the Paradox. Berserk flexing off some of the bling now that he's been able to walk around. He's a little drift out of that Kevlar.
All I'm going to say is you didn't really need the Kevlar to make that play, but it feels good knowing that you had the confidence to do so, having that extra tankiness. And in the end, it is going to cement 2 major flex slots now. We get to take a look over at the lucky shot now secured by the likes of a Path here. That's going to be something that has absolutely ramped the damage potential, not to mention Arnfargareko here as well. We're going to be able to pick up the likes of the Colossus, something that will keep this lady, guys, very healthy in the vitality range when it comes down to at least being resistant and, well, staying alive longer for what is ultimately her major path regarding her damage. She needs that health to work with.
Yeah, and it's also like a pseudo life swap. You're not necessarily swapping, but you are able to give yourself that boost in HP, and you can stand in somebody's face. You want to be relatively close range to get that soul exchange, so you're getting some extra melee damage on top of it all with some extra life steal from both. I believe it's bullet and spirit life steal, so your drain is going crazy. The gun is obviously very strong, so the bullet steal, life steal is super strong on that item. So shout out to Lady Geist picking up that one. The buffs are available as well, and a minor duel for it. However, not much to be said there by MXM, since it's going to be picked up by Jimmicle. That's the movement. So extra speed on the Paradox was already very tricky, but 6 stamina, I believe, is going to be where we land for that as well. So able to bounce around the map. Something that we highlighted at the start of the show and what the Paradox and Grey Talon could be. I mean, that relationship, we shipped it at the beginning, and it's just never been made apparent as we see another Shadow we played. Beautiful Frozen Shelter, though. That's going to stop, at the very least, our Wraith from getting in on the fight, but you've got another left clicker inside the dome with you. And Eplefin comes out huge on top of that one as the lightning ball goes wide. Another one set up for yet some more damage, but also the lifesteal, and sitting right around 2400 HP. Eplefin is still a-okay to push forward and fight with the squad as the rest of the team is bringing up the rear. SC trying to do just that, looking for a flank, but quite possibly getting caught out as Nightmare gets taken down, and your Abrams has been caught in the worst possible situation. The flanker becomes the flanked, and this one is opened wide up for Killing Spree.
Finally, after a game of what felt like stale lettuce here, they're on their way forward. Double dose Guardians, the duo themselves picked apart as these shrines, especially with the profile at 36 minutes, are just melted here. The Patron to do the same now with just one final member in Braden. I think this is it, Tanner.
Has to be, right? The weekend end comms have to be coming through here. Paradox, Kelvin, gonna be alive, but you can't expect much, especially with no Frozen Shelter. You can't delay as long as you would like, and you look at the health of the Patron getting shredded. Is killing.
See there, I mean, for the likes of Killing Spree, this is something that they set themselves up with in draft, but it is something that takes just an absurd amount of time to put together. And in fairness, I mean, it's in much representation due to the fact that it's not really the worst for Deadlock Demons either. They have a lot of endgame potential between things like that Infernus and so much of the souls that we're putting up between the split on Paradox and Mirage that it wasn't until we got to that true outscaling position, especially with those flex slots unlocked, that it finally felt like a dwarfed lead. Something that, I mean, with a little bit better macro